It's explosive words over America's alleged meddling in India's elections. Here's what has happened. The BJP has made a big charge. The charge with regard to was there an election meddling that took place in the recent polls, the last polls that were held. The BJP says, and I quote it here, there was a bid to stop Modi's victory. Prime Minister Modi flagged the foreign meddling allegation, and BJP is adding foreign funding were aimed to stop Prime Minister Modi to return to the government for the third time. Also remember, Donald Trump spoke about it. Trump also said America wanted to elect someone else. Remember, we are talking about the DOGE Department, Government of Efficiency led by Elon Musk, that decided to do away with $1 million of funding to different countries. For India, appeared to be a voter turnout that had about $21 million earmarked. That has been done away with. America is also asking, what was that funding for? I don't think India needs it. US wanted, and that someone in US wanted to elect someone else in India. Joining me, my colleague Shashank Mattu closely tracks the External Affairs Ministry and the affairs with regard to India and more. Shashank, tell me this, very interesting, that Trump also had a lot to say on this and now BJP is making the same charge. Tell us more, what is this foreign meddling allegation that has come in? In fact, stay on with me. BJP's Tom Vadakkan has also joined us on the phone line. I'll go first to him. Mr. Vadakkan, good afternoon. Why would the BJP say that the $21 million earmarked for voter turnout was in some way used or was intended to be used for a government change?
Yes, it was. We have been clearly stating that for quite some time, that there were a lot of funds coming in and there were operators of certain national parties who were working to ensure regime change. And for voter turnout, what kind of money do you need? People in India don't need, money for turning up. So it's essentially just labeling it. It was basically for regime change and it's been given to people. And they must come clean at this juncture. An investigation must go and find out and get to the root of where the money went. And this kind of interference cannot be tolerated because this is against the democratic. These people talk about democracy being killed, murdered, assassinated, whatever. And they were in the same activity of destroying democracy by receiving foreign funds to ensure defeat of democratically elected governments or leaders or political parties. And they should come clean at this juncture.
Do you believe, Mr. Vadakkan, that for some reason, because the BJP has been very vocal on it, we don't know who the money was being used by or for, but the opposition fairly conspicuous by silence. Do you think that also raises a suspicion? Because what is this voter turnout? I understand funding for many other issues that India may need, but voter turnout in itself has been a question. Why do you think the opposition leaders are not talking about it? Also, they can also pin it on the BJP.
Their needless suspicion is very clear. It's only a question of investigating and getting the money trail, and which will happen soon. And when the money trail comes out, there will be a lot of explanations to be done by those who go carrying the Constitution of India in their pocket. They literally carry the Constitution in their pocket because for them the Constitution is not something that has to be practiced or, in democracy. For them it's something that they'll carry in the pocket and that's where it fits. So this is not only an insult to democracy, this is an insult to the Constitution.
The BJP is escalating the showdown on this. Thank you very much, Mr. Vadakkan. I go back to Shashank on that. Shashank, so after Donald Trump, the Bharatiya Janata Party leaders are starting to speak as well. Tell us more about what is the charge by the Bharatiya Janata Party here, because it doesn't say where the money was going with regard to the, so to say, voter turnout.
Absolutely. So, Mr. Vadakkan has pointed out what the BJP is insinuating right now, that $21 million did not go to the ruling party. It in fact went to, as he was suggesting, opposition groups. That is the BJP's charge, is $21 million that was used to raise voter turnout in India. That is one set of charges. But what they're also saying is that if you look at the pattern of activity in the past, they have suggested that in 2012, a memorandum of understanding was signed between the IFES, which is a think tank and a non-profit organization that works very closely with the United States government, that signed a memorandum of understanding with the Indian Election Commission back in 2012 when the UPA was in power, and they asked certain questions about links between the IFES and George Soros, and also basically saying that, look, this is an organization that works so closely with the US government. Why were they signing MOUs in the UPA era with the Congress government? So the links are clear between these organizations and the Congress party. So that is the insinuation at this point being made. Why were agreements like this signed in the past? Where exactly has this money gone so far? They're saying that the ruling party has no need for it. So there's two sets of allegations. And of course, Donald Trump 2 or 3 days ago came in, said that, look, this money is going to India. Why are we giving India this money? He seemed to be implying that it was some sort of economic aid that was being given to India. That was his sense. But today, he's actually made a very, very different statement, actually saying that, yes, political interference may have been a very crucial part of why that money was given, which essentially raises suspicions and dials them up and makes this controversy a lot more serious. So that
Tell
is
me
something
what
now that
Donald Trump, before the BJP even escalated this matter, had to say, because interestingly, he had a comment or two to make on this $21 million.
Well, absolutely. He said that, look, India doesn't need the money. He said, why exactly has this money been given to India? Perhaps people who were in government before were interested in getting someone else elected in India. He was very heavily implying that regime change was involved. You might remember when Prime Minister Modi went to America, he said President Trump said that President Biden treated the Modi government extremely badly and that he intended to do things differently. So it seems very clear that he's out to say that the Biden administration has mistreated India, has worked on election interference in the Indian government, as seen by this $21 million grant.
Shashank, stay on with me, because this is the big news right now. Of course, there's been a huge showdown, questions about was there a chain trail. Now the Bharatiya Janata Party has jumped in to say it didn't benefit the ruling party and that it was an attempt to ensure Modi does not return to the government for the third time. Shashank, tell me this. Now, many would say, but this amount was earmarked, that it would possibly be used in future. That's why Elon Musk decided to do away with it. How is the allegation coming in that was it already in the distribution? Was it already used in the earlier election? Tell us more about that.
Right. Pooja, you're asking exactly the right question at this point in time, because that is exactly the concern, which is that Doge has put out a tweet essentially saying that, look, $21 million was being earmarked for this amount of money for raising voter turnout. It was allocated to a particular consortium of non-profit organizations and think tanks, none of whom have an office in India. This consortium itself does not have too many activities in India as well. So the question is, if the money is being allotted to this consortium and they don't have activities in India, how exactly is that money being spent? So there are questions, and you're asking, you've hit the nail on the head in terms of saying, okay, there does seem to be some sort of discrepancy here. How exactly is this money being spent by various organizations?
I think it's fair to ask, at least when it comes to what the investigation and the chain trail could possibly be, because if this has been used in any way or intended to be used and distributed, who was it going to? What is their ideological affiliation? That will put it to rest. Because right now it's about showdown. It's about Donald Trump also saying India does not need that much amount of voter turnout. I like India, I like Prime Minister Modi, is what Donald Trump, the US president, has said. But at least this money, $21 million, a fairly important amount as well, remember? And the US is saying we would rather use it for our domestic interests than send it to India. This, remember, was only one of the amounts mentioned compared to how other similar millions of dollars for different reasons, and frankly, some of the reasons and the agendas mentioned were not clear. They were cryptic, to say the least. For example, strengthening political landscape in Bangladesh or biodiversity conservation in Nepal. So many were asking, was it in some ways being misused for any sort of regime change or political influence that USA intended to have via a deep state? That's one of the allegations that's coming in.